This is The Top, where I interview entrepreneurs who are number one or number two in their industry in terms of revenue or customer base. You'll learn how much revenue they're making, what their marketing funnel looks like, and how many customers they have.
I'm now at $20,000 per talk.
5 and 6 million.
He is hell-bent on global domination.
We just broke our 100,000 unit sold mark.
And I'm your host, Nathan Latka.
Okay, Top Tribe, this week's winner of the $100 is Zach Farron. He's a 22-year-old Apple employee, and he's listening to the show and loving it. For your chance to win $100 every Monday, simply subscribe to the podcast on iTunes now, and then text the word Nathan to 33444 to prove that you did it to enter. Folks, many of you reach out to me and you say, Nathan, so many guests on your show talk about the importance of batching. But whenever I try and batch, you tell me this. You go, Nathan, they don't book back-to-back times. Or they don't show up after they book. It's frustrating. The answer is, guys, you have to use smart tools. I use a tool called Acuity Scheduling at nathanlatka.com/schedule. I'll tell you specifically how I use it later on in the episode. Coming up tomorrow morning, you'll learn from Andre Breeze. He's the Bant CEO. They've just hit $32,000 in monthly recurring revenue, helping companies get higher quality leads with a touch of professional services. Top Tribe, what's going on? Nathan Latka here. Our guest today is Francisco Larrain, and he's been an entrepreneur for most of his life, born and raised in Chile. Now, previously, he founded a company called Zapidly, a payments technology company that was backed by Eric Schmidt's venture fund and acquired by Groupon. Before that, he ran a $2.5 billion special situations hedge fund with Trigger Power. We'll get into that in a second. And most recently, he led the product and engineering team of 100 plus people for Groupon's local business. Now he's working on enabling high quality work for corporations and their teams. We also have his co-founder and head of product with us, Amit. Guys, are you ready to take us to the top?
Hey, let's do it. You?
So you know we're talking to a startup when you see the head of product chugging Red Bull at 11 a.m. on a freaking Tuesday. Amit, what's going on, man?
Late night coding, man.
Late night coding.
Lots of issues to work through, lots of problems to make sure we get this right.
Yeah. So what's the breakdown, Amit? Are you guys, Amit, are you doing all the coding or Francisco, are you doing coding as well?
No, we have a team of about 9 people now, and we all code. And we all get our hands as dirty as possible to make sure that this thing moves quickly.
Yeah, Amit puts his hands dirty on the product, and I kind of try to build and manage the algorithm part of the system.
So, Francisco, before we get more into what Sudo does and how you guys hope to kind of really reinvent this industry, tell us a little bit more about your background. So, specifically, we know we have folks from hedge funds and PE firms on here all the time. What was the hedge fund you were running, and help our audience understand what Trigger Power means?
Means that I could make decisions based on whatever I wanted on investments. This was a hedge fund that I ran previously in Chile for who became the president of the country, Sebastián Piñera. So it was his family office or his own money, but it operated like a hedge fund and a very successful one. When I arrived there, the size of the hedge fund was 300 million, and when I left, it was 2.5 billion. So we had a really good ride there. But I really wanted to move into the creativity aspect of things. I was very strong technically, so I decided to come to GSV to do at Stanford to do an MBA. And out of that, I started building my career as an entrepreneur here in the Valley, like an immigrant, and trying to create jobs and disrupt industries.
So, which side do you like better, the money side or the entrepreneur side?
Definitely. Well, both are money, but definitely the entrepreneur side, because the money part is you're making rich people richer. Here, you're trying to use technology to change the way that people communicate and the way people kind of become more productive.
And come on, Francisco, you're making yourself richer, right?
Yeah, we are. Yes.
If everything goes well.
Yes, if everything goes well. All right,
so you're 9 people. You guys are based in California?
Menlo Park.
Perfect. Menlo Park. Good. 9 people, Menlo Park. How much capital have you raised to date?
$2.3 million.
Okay, and tell us more about Sudo now. What are you using that money on? What are you hoping to change?
So the problem that we're trying to solve is that we think CRM, customer relationship management systems in enterprise, are broken. And we think that the reason that they're broken is that they rely on salespeople to be proactive about manually entering data into the system. And so that leads to lots of problems with the underlying data because the reps are not inherently motivated to do this. It's not something that they get value out of generally. It's something that the company gets value out of. So you have the incentive problem, and then you've also got the software problem. Most of the CRM systems were, in the best case, designed in the 90s, worst case, designed in the 80s. And they just, they're hard to use. If you've ever tried to use, Salesforce or Salesforce's mobile application, it's a time-consuming process. And so if it's time-consuming and it's annoying and you're not motivated to do it, you're generally not going to do it, or you're not going to do it well. And so the underlying data is just messy. It's, it's missing, it's incorrect, it's duplicative, it's not timely. And as a sales manager, as a sales operations leader, that makes it very difficult to run an efficient and effective sales team. You don't have the underlying data to know, do I need to have more sales reps or do I need to have fewer sales reps? Do I need to have more leads or should I get my reps more focused on a fewer set of leads? And if you don't have the underlying data, you can't make those decisions effectively.
Yeah, there is a lot of talk about, Salesforce Einstein and how do you use machine learning and big data to get insights out of your data. But, we believe in the principle of garbage in, garbage out. We experienced this firsthand at Groupon where we ran all the systems to prioritize leads and everything. And it was just very hard to make sense of the data, mainly because the data that was input to the system was essentially done by reps who, if you think about it the equivalent of a manager telling you to update Salesforce is similar to tell a teenager, do your bed,
How do you, so here's my question to you guys, because I came across you guys, I believe it was on Product Hunt or a list I came across, and I tried it. And what I love about it is it's more conversational, right? Hey, Sudo, just got done with coffee with, the head of product at X company, right? Update the lead to a 9, right? In my dashboard. So I love that it's conversational, but I still have to do work to put the data in, unless you guys are doing something or working towards something that figures out a way to kind of automatically know or surface these things. What's the plan there?
Yeah, so that was our big insight. The way that we started, we actually started with expense management. And, you will type, hey, I had a really good chat with Nathan, and then we have a breakfast and I spent $10. And then the system was able to understand it. We were able to capture the intention. You were trying to make an expense. And these are the data fields that you already talked about in the chat. And we're going to ask you missing data fields. We tried to apply the same thing into CRM, where we created a free format thing where people will try to update things. And the problem was that it's essentially the same paradigm that we're trying to disrupt. As you mentioned, it's you have to be proactive, and sometimes you forget and everything. So the big insight that we had in the company is that you really want to flip the problem around. You want to be able to grab all the interactions, phones, emails, meetings, virtual meetings, and extract information from that, surface it to the rep, and try the rep to answer as little as possible around that. Example, you send an email to someone. That email is not on Salesforce. The chatbot tells you, do you want to add this contact to Salesforce? And we have 2 buttons on Slack, yes or no. So now, instead of you going to the system and adding the stuff, you just say yes or no. And when you say yes or no, we call other APIs of other companies that enrich data, and we put all that data validated and clean into the Salesforce. And we can do that with meetings. We can do that with follow-ups. We're able to understand phone conversations, extract keywords from that, extract follow-ups. So, hey, I saw that you had a phone call with client X. And do you want to create a follow-up? You said that you want to create a follow-up in the next week. Do you want me to remind you? And add that information into Salesforce.
Got it. Okay, so give us a sense of kind of where the business is at today in terms of customers or revenue or users. First of all, are you guys post-revenue or pre-revenue?
We're pre-revenue.
Okay,
we're in private beta. We don't believe in the MVP philosophy in these systems because building a chatbot, and we can go more over the conversational problem, but it's an incredibly hard problem to solve. So what we're doing is that we're working with 30 or 40 customers right now, users, and we've learned tons from them. And, also with, we're not charging them because sometimes we have bugs and all those things. So, and we're engaged in pilots with 5 companies right now. And with one of them, we're about to close them, finishing a pilot with them. They're very excited about the product. And
so Francisco, what do you think, what's your gut tell you your revenue model will be?
So we believe that we're going to start charging per user per month for reps that use this system, and we want to move in the long term for more of an account-based charging model where we essentially discriminate different companies by the amount of accounts they have in Salesforce, and we charge you for those accounts because we believe that we can enrich the data and we can have the company put a lot of data into our systems so we can suggest the rep who is the next lead that they want to call and build essentially a model of machine learning around that information.
When one of these beta users signs up, I'm sure you guys have dashboards there in your office. You're actively refreshing like every minute of every day going, did they do the first thing we know they have to do to make them sticky? What are some of those key things they have to do in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days to be sticky?
So this was one of the, Francisco mentioned, the big insight here is flipping this problem on its head. And so we're about 80 to 90% of the interactions now are prompted by Sudo. So the most important thing for us is they have to get all the way through the onboarding process where we get connected to their underlying data stream. So we get connected to their calendar, we get connected to their email, we get connected to their Salesforce. Once we have that, now we're proactively pinging them with actions that they can take. And so what we see typically is we get a lot of interactions in the first few days because there's kind of this backlog of stuff that hasn't been entered into the system. There are a lot of customers you're interacting with that aren't in the system, and then it kind of gets to a steady state. And so the key thing for us is making sure people add contacts, making sure people are adding their notes from their meetings. Those are the most common interactions. Those are the most common things that our sales reps are doing. As soon as we start getting them into that mode of interacting with Sudo and taking actions that Sudo recommends, it becomes much stickier.
Yeah, the interaction before, when it was essentially reactive, it was like 2-3 times for the 20% of the customers that are the most engaged, from 2 to 3 times a week to 5 to 7 times a day. So we really kind of like boosted the interaction a lot.
Yep, and you think you'll have, your gut is telling you you'll have more leverage over pricing and if the key thing you measure and optimize the onboarding for are kind of number of messages per rep per day.
So that's very sticky with the rep, and that helps us to push the data. I think the big leverage of this company is surfacing a dashboard to managers and C-level execs to kind of understand how their products are getting sold through the channels, what are the products that are selling quicker, how many interactions you need for those products to work, and also to measure the effectiveness of the reps and what they can like instill in their organization to make them more efficient. So, you're going to be able to find out which keywords are the ones who are selling products better and what interactions and everything, and like put that into the process so the company can become more data driven.
Got it.
Where we're getting traction today is with customers who already have really good understanding and appreciation of the data, and those companies just want more of it, right? They want more accurate, more data. Where we're going is helping all those companies who don't quite know what to do with this data yet. And in order to do that, we have to build this dashboard that really helps them understand what they can do with the underlying data that Sudo's generating for them.
Great. Well, guys, coming up, I'm going to ask both of these guys what their favorite business books are. But first, take us through, Francisco, take us through kind of the funding. So you raised $2.3 million. Was that convertible note or equity?
You want me to tell you the numbers?
Well, no. Was it a note or equity?
Oh, equity. It was a seed round, a formal seed round. We have the pleasure of having like really, really good guys like Joe Lonsdale from ATC, who was the previous investor in a very successful company called RelateIQ that was acquired by Salesforce. Then we have Rivet Capital, which are kind of like top fund in fintech. And Eric Schmidt like chipped in again because we made the money the last time. Andrew Mason, the founder of Groupon. Frank Lewis, the founder of Criteo, which is like really good expert on machine learning. Slack Fund, which are trying to boost their ecosystem. We're very Slack based. Storm Ventures, an amazing name in enterprise as well.
Who led?
Say it again.
Who led the round?
Joe Lonsdale.
Okay, what was his
the founder of Palantir?
Oh, okay. Got it. Very cool. And what was how do you enter in? You guys obviously have great backgrounds, which probably gives you power over negotiating a valuation to minimize dilution. But walk me through that negotiation. How'd you kind of get to the valuation?
Okay, so it was super easy because I had a really good exit last time. The first time that I tried to raise money, I got 42 no's until I got one yes. This time, essentially, we had one investor passing. So out of all the people we pitched, everyone chipped in. And I think at seed is very easy. It's proven that people who have had exits before, the probability that they're successful is way higher. And, statistically, so it was way easier to get people, especially people that I knew that put money before. Those guys really wanted to chip in, and that helped me. And quite frankly, Joe really believes in this smart enterprise idea, and the conversation with him was a 10-minute conversation until he kind of started negotiating numbers with us.
We showed him a video of how the enterprise software works today, and he said, "I'll write you a check right now if you let me stop watching this video."
That's funny. So Francisco, talking about your previous success, because it sounds like that was critical to kind of this first round of funding. What did Zappity sell to Groupon for?
So I can't disclose the number, but it was a big number. It was a very sizable number, at least for me. It gives me the ability to kind of be independent financially and kind of start more companies.
More than 100 million?
I can't tell you the number.
You can give me a vague range, as big as you want.
Mid-level digits in terms of something between 10 and 100.
Perfect. That's great. Okay, good. So you made all your investors a lot of money, right? And they said, let me invest in your next thing.
We returned at 4 to 5 times the money for investors.
Great.
And
in about a year, right?
In about 9 months, actually. Yeah.
That's great.
So
that's a good idea.
The technology we built was quite disruptive because we were able to track credit cards. So if you buy a Groupon, and then you go to the merchant, we were able to see on the merchant if you were a return customer or not. So we essentially had deals with acquiring banks, with the First Datas of this world and guys like that, who will give us access to their credit card transactions, and we were able to match them in a way that we didn't violate personally identifiable information by using just pieces of the credit card data and building a collision algorithm that, was able to identify users on that merchant. Effectively moving online to offline, proving ROI on online to offline advertisement.
And so with all that kind of background that you built up and the team that you've built, what valuation did you negotiate in the Series A for Sudo?
Right now?
When you raised? No, not now. When you raised?
In the seed round, we did an $8 million pre-money valuation.
Yeah. Okay. So the 2.3 million was a seed round, not your Series A.
Yes, that was a seed.
Okay, so 8 million pre, 10.3 million post.
Yeah, but we've got the company, given how disruptive it is, we've got which has been amazing for us. We've got a lot of inbound requests from VCs trying to. So we have some VCs trying to now say, hey, you should take money from us. So we're in a very good spot, thanks God.
Guys, I get asked all the time, Nathan, you host all these interviews, hundreds of them per month. How do you do them efficiently? And guys, the answer is simple. People always agree to my calendar, back-to-back meetings. I batch my interviews to stay very efficient. And the way that I do it is I use a tool called Acuity Scheduling at nathanlatka.com/schedule. And the reason I use them is very simple. They keep my no-show rate very low because they send out reminders about when the interview or the meeting is coming up. And also, they make it very easy to schedule time, right? I don't have to go back and forth via email 10,000 times with people I'm trying to meet with. Okay, at nathanlatka.com/schedule. It helps me so much. And by the way, look, I have so many meetings. I'm the best at meetings. Okay, I do them back to back, very, very efficient. You guys know me. Many people say I'm the most efficient they've ever seen. Okay, so I use the tool. It's so efficient. And by the way, I got Gavin. I said, Gavin, he's the CEO. I said, I want a great deal for my people. He said, Nathan, well, most people get a 14-day trial. Isn't that great? I said, no. He's given us a 45-day free trial at nathanlatka.com/schedule. That's not going to stay up forever, so go get it now. nathanlatka.com/schedule.
That's great. That's great. It's the power to kind of the success in the story you guys can tell about what you've done, right? And how big this space is. As you know, it's very fragmented, very, very fragmented, and really broken.
Yes.
So very good. All right, guys, let's get into some more context about you guys as we wrap up here. First question, Francisco, this one goes to you. What's your favorite business book?
Oh, my favorite business book. Oh, wow. You got me on that one. High Output Management by Andy Grove.
Okay, good. You said high altitude or high output management?
High Output Management.
Yeah. Amit, this one's to you. Is there a CEO you're following or studying right now?
There's a CEO I'm studying now. Honest answer, no.
All right. Number 3, back over to Francisco. Is there a favorite online tool you have, like Evernote?
Splunk. I love Splunk. Yeah, getting all the data and insights. And you know what? GitHub. I love GitHub. We love GitHub here. We're super GitHub driven.
Splunk and GitHub. There you have it. All right. And Francisco, we'll stick with you on these last ones here. Yes or no? Do you get 8 hours of sleep every night?
Do what?
Do you get 8 hours of sleep?
No. I wish. I have kids. I get 5 to 6 hours.
So what's your situation? You said you have kids. Are you married, single? You have how many kids?
Married, 3 kids, 2.5 kids. I have the third one coming in February.
Oh, very cool.
I particularly have a boy that's number 2 that's quite, like he has a tendency to wake up at 3, 4 a.m. and he starts crying and everything. So between the coding and the kids, it's like being, I'm a sleep deprived dad.
And how old are you?
I am 37.
All right. So last question. Take us back 17 years. What do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
Oh, that like all these people that are starting companies and that you see and you look up and you say, oh, I'm never going to be able to them, are much more human than you think. And I would have loved to have that confidence in myself that I could do it. And like I would have loved to kind of like just drop out of school and start more companies instead of like building and studying theoretical physics and all that stuff that I did.
Top Tribe, there you have it. He wishes he had more confidence and less schooling from Francisco and Amit, who are building Sudo. They're working with a handful of customers right now, pre-launch, focused on fixing really the sales and B2B kind of CRM space. They've raised $2.3 million on an $8 million pre-money valuation. They both have a bunch of successes that they're leaning on. Currently, again, building at Sudo with their team of 9 in Menlo Park, looking to fix a very fragmented and broken space. Amit, Francisco, thank you for taking us to the top.
Thank you so much, Nathan.
If you enjoyed Francisco today, go back and listen to Eric Berman yesterday with Branditize. Eric is the back end to all of Jack Canfield's online stuff, and he works with many big online celebrities. They did $4 million in 2015 revenue, and he's on track to do $5 million in 2016. Again, with Branditize CEO Eric Berman.
Okay, Top Tribe, I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. And don't forget, before you listen to any other episodes, subscribe on iTunes right now for your chance to win $100 every Monday.